A few days ago, there was a video circulating in the GTA community that was catching some controversy from a fellow content creator regarding their opinion of GTA 6. And I haven't watched the video yet. I was saving it for this reaction video. So we're going to watch the video together. And if you want to watch it yourself without me stopping and giving my 2 cents, I will link his video below in the description section. And like I mentioned, I have not watched his video. And I'm going to be open-minded about what information he provides. So this will probably be a longer video than his original 24-minute video. But I do want to, as always, give credit to the original creator. That's the way it should be when it comes to reaction videos. So Edamoyne TV, if I'm mispronouncing his name, I do apologize. There are so many content creators out there, big and, well, small, that I don't know everybody. But since this is a topic that I'm covering on my channel, GTA 6, hopefully we'll get a new trailer for it before the end of 2024. Right, Rockstar? I thought that I would watch the video, pause a few times, and give my opinions, whether I agree, disagree. We'll see how that goes. But if you've watched the video, and yeah, don't react until you watch the video as well, whether it's along with me or on your own. Feel free and let me know how you feel about his video. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? Let me know below in the comment section. So let's go check it out. GTA 6 exposed. Silences white male developers. Plus Rockstar's infested with woke DEI agenda. Okay, well, we'll see. Some studios are.
The new double-sided case of Smasher.
Get the advert out of the way really quick. So we'll skip that. Okay, here we go.
And today I have a scoop for you. So obviously we all know what Grand Theft Auto 6 is. We know it's coming in 2025 and there's an insane amount of hype behind it for good reason. I have now been given so much information about Rockstar that it is borderline ridiculous here. I do want to say that who I worked with when making this as well. So my partner in crime here is a man who has an insane knack for information gathering. His name is Francesco Solbeck. His Twitter handle is some guy on phone, which you can see on screen here. Okay. Yeah, his profile picture's a little goofy, but he's a good guy. So please give him a follow since he was instrumental to this video coming together, and if anyone has any information on GTA, Rockstar, or any other game, Francesco can relay with you and get that information sorted in a very good manner. I trust him, and so should you. So shout out to him. Thanks
well, I mean, just because you trust him doesn't mean I have to trust him. I never heard of the guy before.
So the big reason is because a lot of people are wondering what is going on with GTA 6, and specifically, has Rockstar gone woke? To be real with you guys, the short answer is yes. The long answer is it's a lot worse than you think. Let me explain. Firstly, we need to explain how things are going down at Rockstar currently and before.
All right, I'll say this. I like the fact that he gives credit to people, so I appreciate that about you. And that's something I wish more content creators would do whenever they're like citing a source or using somebody else's video. Even if you're using my video, as long as you give me credit. I mean, that's something that I think that more creators should do. It's definitely a courtesy in my opinion.
Of the Rockstar greats left the company ranging between 2020 to 2021. These guys' names are Dan Houser, Laszlo Jones, and Michael Unsworth. These guys were all instrumental in making literally everything that Rockstar has pretty much made up until now. Dan Houser left Rockstar, which was weird because he founded the company with his brother. And then he went off and made another game studio, and then Laszlo and Michael then left Rockstar and joined him too. But why would they all leave? Well, friends, I have your answers, and you're not going to like it. Tell me, do you know what DIB stands for? DEI, of course, is well known, but we have now another term that we have to add to the list. DIB, or Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, is something that has ravaged through Rockstar like a tornado in the past few years. So we're going to start with Stacy Gordon, who according to LinkedIn, by the way, don't harass anyone in this video. Just let me show you things and then we can discuss it.
Okay, that's something else I appreciate. Whenever you're doing a reaction video and you're citing sources of people, even if you disagree with them, I wholeheartedly agree with this stance. Don't go harassing people. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't harass them, whether they have an opinion that you agree with or disagree with. There's no reason for going and targeting people on the social medias. So yeah, I agree with him on that.
But Stacey Gordon is a self-proclaimed unapologetic evangelist for inclusion. That's her words, not mine. Okay. Stacey is also a voice in gender equity, a keynote speaker, and pushes programs that, for lack of a better word, are these mind virus courses that are designed to rewrite the critical thinking pathways of game developers' minds into understanding that they are actually racist and must atone for their sins, as Stacey states here. Privilege is hard to talk about, yet it's as pervasive and important as oxygen. It's like bias. Everyone has some type of privilege, just as everyone carries some type of bias. So why is it so hard to talk about? Why do people, particularly white people, get defensive about privilege? And how can we use the privileges we have to advocate for people who don't have the same access?
Okay, this is one thing that grinds my gears about quote-unquote privilege. And they always make it about white people. But it should be about wealth privilege, because there's plenty of white people that I've known growing up in East Texas and Louisiana that are dirt poor, that live in trailer parks and have struggled throughout their entire life. Where's their privilege? I mean, yes, there are white people that are extremely wealthy that have privilege, but there's wealthy people from all backgrounds that have the same degree of privilege. So I really wish they would stop trying to make it a pigment thing and address it as a class issue, based on how much money you have or don't have. And that's the way it should be. But it always targets white people, and that's something that really does annoy me. Yes, there are racist white people out there. The majority of us are not racist.
She then shills her podcast called Inclusionomics, yes, that's a real name, about how everyone who is white is racist no matter what. Yeah. But let's keep going, because it gets worse.
And once again, I disagree with her wholeheartedly about this. As someone who is white, I've been, as you may notice, I'm kind of white my entire life. I'm not racist. Did I grow up in a racist area where there were some racist people? Unfortunately, yes. That's just a reality. There's racists in almost every single group throughout the planet. It's sad. It's ugly, especially in the 21st century. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and we should start looking at each other like human beings, despite our pigments, despite our religious, cultural differences. We are all human. And to accuse all white people of being racist is in itself racist, and that is something I will agree with him on wholeheartedly.
Worse. Stacey Gordon also hosts sessions talking about microaggressions and how black people specifically are disenfranchised and must be lifted up to become more powerful, specifically in the gaming industry. This then brings me to the big root of the cancer that is killing Rockstar right now, which is something called unconscious bias. What? We understand that this is a term that means you are biased without knowing it, but it turns out this DEI stranglehold has actually gripped Rockstar for years now and is choking the entire studio to death. This unconscious bias, by the way, is not just some random thing, but what Francesco was able to discover was that it was actually a mandatory course that was pushed onto employees of Rockstar. Which ones, you may be asking? You can probably guess it, but it was exclusively pretty much only white employees who work at Rockstar right now that were...
Yeah, see, I've heard this happen in many other companies, and obviously when you hear it happening just in one company, you're like, oh, come on, that can't be legit. But then when you see a track pattern of it happening throughout a lot of companies, like specifically here in the gaming industry, and other corporations as well, and since Trump got elected president, a lot of these companies are now starting to walk back the whole DEI nonsense. So hopefully the same thing starts happening in the gaming industry as well, especially with so many other video games that have been woke focused, flopping left and right. So yeah, I'm hoping that's something that's going to change. But yeah, I don't like the fact that you're going to gather up the white employees and put them through this course, because that's a form of discrimination. That is racist. And if you're going to have like seminars like this, like for example, when I was in radio, we had to do sexual harassment seminars, but they had everybody there. They had the male employees, they had the female employees there, because sexual harassment, while it predominantly affects women, there are some men that have been affected negatively by sexual harassment in the workplace. So if you're going to do seminars, then I think it's wrong of Rockstar and any of these other companies to do things like this. Once again, if Rockstar actually did this.
put through this course. As seen here on LinkedIn, connecting Rockstar's LinkedIn account to this Stacy Gordon's unconscious bias tag here, it immediately pings 60 members of Rockstar Games. Francesco was able to go through these, and based on what he found, of the 60 employees forced to take this unconscious bias course in order to gain a certificate, around 58 of them were white people. The other 2 of these 60 people were of Asian descent, but this course was being pushed onto Rockstar employees coincidentally around the same time that Dan Houser, Laszlo Jones, and Michael Unsworth left Rockstar back in 2020 to 2021, which coincides with when a lot of the DEI woke ESG money was entering the game industry at an alarming rate. Effectively meaning that right now, as it stands, Rockstar is completely infected with woke pandering DEI initiatives that have ran through a whole swath of white employees almost exclusively into admitting, submitting, then receiving a certificate to confirm their own unconscious racist bias according to these woke grifters who are infesting Rockstar right now at insane rates. One of these white employees is Michael P., an associate art director at Rockstar Games. He's been with the company for well over 20 years at this point, as you can see on screen right here. And to prove that he's been thrown through this DEI initiative, we can also see here that Michael P. had the unconscious bias training certification given to him.
This is so stupid. Like, oh boy, I got a certificate for unconscious bias to prove that I'm not racist, and I went through some sort of stupid course. This is pathetic, like, that you would force your employees to go through this nonsense. Like I said, like, sexual harassment is one thing. Like, equal opportunity in the workplace, being respectful of each other despite our differences, yeah, that I totally get. But that should be for all employees, okay? That should be for everybody that works at the company, not a specific group of people. If you flip the script and you took, like, a group of others, let's say African Americans or black employees or Asian employees, I guess there were 2 out of the 60 were Asian, then if the majority happen to be a different group, and they were forced to do this unconscious bias seminar, then there would be some major backlash that would be occurring. And it would be seen as racist. So I'm tired of that double standard.
Him after completing the course. And we also have a time frame which says July 2022. Again, just over a year or less before all the former heads of Rockstar evacuated the company amidst this DEI takeover. Another employee here named Heather, who is also a senior employee at Rockstar and of course is a white person also, has the unconscious bias certification listed on their LinkedIn as well.
Like, what kind of con was pulled over on these companies in order to get them to go along with this freaking certificate? I'm sure, like he mentioned, there's money involved because of the DEI and all that nonsense. But yeah, it's just unfortunate because I'm sure there has been some degree of racism throughout most companies, but especially in the West, I feel like this has become a thing of the past for the most part, with a few rare occasions. And this wasn't necessary, I don't think, because people were already starting to get past those differences, those problems that we had back in the 19th, 20th centuries when it came to racism. In other parts of the world, it's not so much, but at least in the West, I feel like things have gotten better.
What's crazy is we are actually able to find and access the unconscious bias learning program.
Oh, really?
Look into it, discovering that yes, Stacy Gordon is the person behind this program, but it gets worse. As I scroll down, you can see how this course is designed to shame you into compliance. The most alarming and worst part was finding out that as of the making of this video, that 445,948 people have taken and completed this course. You heard that right. Now, this number is not just games, I would assume, but all kinds of industries, which is great for Stacy.
Most likely.
Because then the course allows her to shill her product to every corner of the modern working world.
How can we consciously address bias as we move through our workplaces and lives? While there is a clamor for action, action without awareness leads to inauthentic and performative behavior that repeats the cycle of systemic inequality.
The Wooble sent me some crochet.
Sorry, these freaking ads. Yeah, it's interesting so far. Damn it, I didn't skip. Hold on. Let me skip the damn thing. All right, there you go. Okay.
Be aware of when we are acting from an unconscious bias. We need to be able to identify when they're happening. Instead of this causing you distress or feeling hopeless, I invite you to embrace the complexity of being human. My name is Stacey Gordon. I'm an executive advisor to senior leaders in the field of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I spent years working in Fortune 500 companies.
I'm sure
and
she has.
organizations,
Probably making some nice
specializing
money
in diversity and inclusion.
pushing us on these
today,
companies.
I hope to bring awareness to the topic of unconscious bias. In this course, we're going to talk about unconscious bias and the impact it has on business. You'll be introduced to some common types of biases that have a large impact in our workplace processes and environments. So you'll now begin to notice the effects of bias in your workplace, in your schools, and in your communities.
This is ridiculous.
This awareness is what is needed to begin to make the necessary changes in our behavior. And throughout this course, I'm going to ask you several questions. I recommend you write down your thoughts as we go. So grab a notebook
I'll just
or a
give you
writing
my
tablet,
thoughts as we
and
watch this
let's
together.
get started.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
But if you were to just take Rockstar as a size and quantify how many people have been brainwashed into taking this course to renounce their skin color, gender, or whatever else, in the name of woke absolution, this course equates to around 222 full Rockstar teams worth of people that have opened their minds to this program. These are the sorts of things that are ruining video games, friends, but there's more. As you can see here, we also have the DIB course of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, and lo and behold, over 1,125,843 people as
That's a lot of
of this video
certificates.
have been forced through this test, which is a staggering amount of professionals being filtered through DEI programs by their companies to renounce either their whiteness, their advantages, or biases in the name of the agenda.
Oh my God. This is the kind of stuff that causes division and divisiveness. This kind of bullshit. Like I said, we have had racism, unfortunately. That's an ugly part of our species, right? Especially in previous centuries. But I feel like we've come a long way since the civil rights movements. And yeah, I mean, there's still ways to go. But I think more and more humans have come to accept the fact that we're all human beings, that there is no superior race, whether it's white, Japanese, etc. We're all human beings with our flaws, differences, but we also have similarities. And this is just a bunch of nonsense that these individuals are pushing, and these companies are going along with it. Or I guess the score or something that BlackRock and other companies have been pushing, and money's involved in. And I'm very disappointed that Rockstar's involved in this, because you think they wouldn't need that kind of money from BlackRock because they've been so successful. But at the same time, I shouldn't be surprised, because bear in mind, Rockstar is not an independent company. They have a parent company called Take-Two, and a lot of this could be coming from Take-Two itself, down to their other studios. Sorry about that.
I mean, just listen to the official description of the unconscious bias agenda, and I quote, "We're all biased, our experiences shape who we are, and our race, ethnicity, gender, height, weight, sexual orientation, place of birth, and other factors impact the lens with which we view the world. In this course, diversity expert Stacey Gordon helps you recognize and acknowledge your own biases."
I don't need her to recognize my own biases. For the most part, I'm not really biased against anybody except for criminals and scumbags and pieces of crap and corrupt politicians and extremist groups. So that's where my bias lies. Like everybody else, I'm cool with.
So that you can identify them when making decisions and prevent yourself from making calls based on a biased viewpoint. Stacey Gordon explains some of the most common forms that a bias takes: affinity bias, halo bias, perception bias, and confirmation bias. She helps you recognize the negative effects of bias within your organization, as well as the benefits to be realized by uncovering bias in decision-making processes. Finally, she outlines strategies for overcoming personal and organizational bias. End quote. We're going to circle back to this whole unconscious bias thing in a second, but we also got to delve into some other things as well. Another thing Francesca was able to decipher was that Rockstar has had a staggering amount of employees join them in the last 2 years. But the weird part about a lot of this is that a vast majority of these new hires are coming from a very specific studio in question, that being Behavior Interactive. In case you don't know, Behavior Interactive is a studio that was responsible for games like Dead by Daylight, The Casting of Frank Stone, Meet Your Maker, and even worked on other projects such as...
Wait, Behavior didn't do Casting of Frank Stone. That's the studio that did, Until Dawn? But they collabed with Behavior to, I guess it's from the world of Dead by Daylight. It's not as good as Until Dawn. Riley and I watched it. But that's interesting that they're bringing over people from Behavior, because Behavior is definitely a much smaller studio than Rockstar. But it's understandable that, as you're building up a AAA game, with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, perhaps billions like GTA 6, of course they're going to bring over people from other studios. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's woke or DEI focused. Maybe they just had employees like over at Behavior that like, hey, we need people that specialize in this and this and this for our game. And that's where they were reaching out to.
Mortal Kombat 1, Immortals of Avium, Gears 5, Rainbow Six Extraction, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Call of Duty Vanguard, and many more. In case you don't know, also, Behavior Interactive is home to DEI agenda pushes like the Wheel of Privilege 2. They are also originally located in Montreal in Canada, the same exact city that Sweet Baby Inc. operates out of. Just letting you know.
Well, Sweet Baby Inc. I think is on its way out the door. I mean, there's been a lot of flack and controversy towards their actions within the gaming industry. And I think that more studios with more games that have been attached to Sweet Baby Inc. have flopped and failed hard. I think that they've probably aren't going to see as much work in the future, especially with the reputation that the gaming industry has become aware of, especially with gamers out there, consumers like you and me.
When it comes to the Wheel of Privilege thing, we have this Fandom Pulse article here where a woman named Sylvia Duckworth, which I covered in a video recently, made this wheel that details people's privileges.
I saw Asmongold do this on his stream the other day, like this power wheel. And I was wondering where it came from, but I was like working on something else at the time, so I was just listening to him in the background while I was working on a project. And I'm like, what the fuck is this Wheel of Power? So I think you start with skin color, right? Different shades, dark, and then white, of course, and then you go like post-secondary, high school education. Okay, so that would be like white. High school education, I guess I'm able-bodied. I guess I would go all the way out here to bi. Yeah, I'd go from there to there. So I'm on the edge now. Wow. Okay, now I'm included. And then, see, neurotypical, some neuro, what? Okay, I guess then I come back here, I think. And then robust, mostly stable. Okay, mostly stable. I'm mostly stable. So we'll go back here. I would say I'm average, trying to be average. I gotta lose a few pounds. I'm working on it. Okay, I own property, so there I go back over here. I guess I'm over here somewhere in this regard. Right, so I'm here. I know English, so I'm there. I'm here. And wow, I'm a citizen. Imagine being a citizen of a country that you were born in. I mean, what a crime. So yeah, let's continue with this.
Is based on who or what they are. And fellow YouTuber Smash JT found recently too that this Sylvia Duckworth has published books praising black people specifically, and has even made books pushing trans stuff onto children through picture books.
Look, I'm all about trans rights, but I'm totally against anything being pushed on kids when it comes to sexuality or the trans issue. That should be something that's left to adults to go through when it comes to gender dysphoria.
Funded and created by Behavior Interactive, which, like their name suggests, things are made to force behaviors into games.
I think it just happens to be the name of the studio. I think you're drawing at that. I mean, that was the name of the studio when they first launched Dead by Daylight. So yeah,
games themselves and more. And many of the games that I showed that they are a part of have characters where women are favored, like Gears of War 5, or games that desexualize characters like Mortal Kombat 1, specifically the females. So
but that's a NetherRealm thing, okay? So you can't blame Behavior for something that's done by, like, Ed Boon at NetherRealm, where, like, one time they were okay with their male-female characters being in scantily class clothes, like with the Mortal Kombat reboot from years ago, which I, by the way, really enjoyed playing. And then they did this 180 and like, oh, it's okay to rip people apart and beat the crap out of each other and kill people and do all these horrible things to each other. But no, we can't have female characters in revealing clothing. Talk about a double standard.
Now that you know who and what behavior stands for, let's circle back to Rockstar. Like I said, many...
And for the record, I actually like Behavior. I like Dead by Daylight. I haven't played as much as I used to. And yeah, they do definitely have some of that LGBTQ stuff in there, which is, fine by me. But they also have, like straight characters and straight players too. So it's okay to be inclusive, but there's a difference between organic diversity and forced diversity. So yeah, I think that needs to be pointed out.
People from that studio are now working at Rockstar coincidentally around the same time Dan Houser and the rest left the company.
Okay, well, he hasn't really explained why Dan Houser and Laszlo left. Now, I don't know why Dan Houser left. I don't know why Unsworth left. I have no idea why he left. And that was only a few months ago. Laszlo, we know why Laszlo left. Okay, it was because his sister was terminally ill and his father was ill as well. So he left for family reasons. He even stated that on his social media years ago that he loved working at Rockstar. He parted on good terms with him. But the reason why he left, and maybe he'll say this, I hope he does in a few minutes from now in the video. But the reason why Laszlo left was to take care of his terminally ill sister as well as his father.
The past few years. One of these people is Wendy Enriquez Donasaint, who is a director of talent acquisition at Rockstar Games currently. Wendy confirms on LinkedIn here where it says Wendy Enriquez Donasaint is the Director of Human Resources and Talent Acquisition at Bethesda Game Studios. Wendy has over 15 years of experience in human resources and talent acquisition. Wendy started their career as a recruiter at Behavior Interactive in 2005.
Wow, I didn't realize Behavior was that old. Okay, so I learned something new every day. So I guess their first game wasn't Dead by Daylight.
And now, as we know, she has now moved on to Rockstar, becoming the head of hiring for that company. As you can see here, she's been at Rockstar for almost 2 years now, again, coincidentally, around the same time Dan Houser and such leave. She then becomes head of talent acquisition. Isn't that weird to anyone else?
I don't think it's weird. I mean, you could have one person come over from one company, right? This happens all the time back in radio. When I was in radio, you'd have one person come across town, right, from one cluster of radio stations to another. And, if they were in like a position like operations manager, for example, or general manager, they had people working across town at the other radio stations that they liked to work with, that they thought did good jobs as salespeople, programming, on-air talent, that they'd want to bring over to, the new cluster of radio stations that they're working at. So this happens all the time in the radio industry. Well, what's left of the radio industry and various other corporations, including the gaming industry. So that doesn't surprise me, especially if somebody else came over from Behavior years ago and they had that connection. And I'm sure that they've brought over people from other companies, other development studios as well, besides Behavior.
That all of these people, these initiatives, these programs, certificates, all of it immediately enters Rockstar as soon as the original people leave. Well, maybe this Wendy person isn't tied to DEI, even though she comes from Behavior and is working at Rockstar. Well, we were able to also find out that Wendy's sister here, Ingrid Enriquez Donasaint, has published books about representation and inclusivity as well. Ingrid, like I said, who is the sister of Rockstar's talent acquisitions director, even calls herself a grand strategist and ethnographer. Which I looked into it in case you don't know what an ethnographer is, as Google puts it. An ethnographer is a person who studies and records the culture and ways of life of a particular group or society.
Okay.
They use a combination of emic, insider, and etic, outsider approaches to describe the cultures they study. Ethnographers use a research method called ethnography, which involves observing and interacting with people in their natural settings. They immerse themselves in the social group.
What is this, some National Geographic wildlife safari nonsense? Like, we're here observing the lions and the gazelles and the giraffes and the hippos and the cheetahs. Is that what we're being reduced to as a species?
They are studying for months or even years, observing their behavior, there's that word again, listening to their conversations and participating in those conversations. But surely there's no connection, right? I mean, the Rockstar talent acquisition lady's sister wrote a book, so what? Well, there's more. Here's Ingrid Enriquez Donasaint, where she would write things for Tam Tam, which is like some other thing that's to do with DEI stuff, but anyway. which would focus on exclusively representation and stereotypes. These sisters who were attached to Rockstar are all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It also doesn't help with this excerpt written by Ingrid, which reads, "Be aware of blind spots or be humble enough to discover those you didn't know were there. Build alliances with experts and consumers with soft spots different from yours, ethnography. To enrich your lens, but also to give you substance to craft relatable stories to other people and not just the same old two white folks."
Yeah, see, right there, that's some hypocrisy. That's a racism. Like, just because there's two old white folks doesn't mean the two old white folks are racist or against diversity. I mean, for example, Dan Houser was one of the lead writers for GTA San Andreas, and the main character is African American, CJ. A lot of the characters in San Andreas are African American as well, and Asian American. And the same thing goes for GTA 5, like with Franklin, who's also African American. So, yeah, just because Dan Houser's white doesn't mean he didn't do the research necessary to learn about African American culture in Los Angeles, for example, in this case, and write compelling characters, whether they're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, etc. And we've seen that time and time again with a lot of the games that Dan Houser has been a writer on, along with Laszlo Unsworth, from the GTA games to Bully, as well as Red Dead Redemption 1 and especially Red Dead Redemption 2.
So the person in charge of who gets hired at Rockstar that worked at Behavior has a sister who is an ethnographer that writes books and theses about how we must deconstruct whiteness in the world, but it gets worse, so let's keep going. Remember how I said a lot of people from Behavior suddenly joined Rockstar? Here's a software engineer named Kelly who now works at Rockstar. Look at where they're from.
Hello, I'm...
Hi, Patrick. By the way, Season 3 of Picard was actually pretty good. The other two seasons sucked.
Of course. And they have also retweeted stuff like donations for racial injustice and equality. Oh boy, isn't that just wonderful? Sometimes the talent acquisition people below Wendy, they don't even hide their agenda, like Apurva Sharma here, who works in talent acquisition at Rockstar, and literally has DEI advocate on her public LinkedIn.
Yeah, see, this is the issue. Like, people have a right to their opinions, but they should leave it at the door when they go work at a company, whether it's a local business, a fast food restaurant, or a corporation, doesn't matter to me. Like, you should leave that at the door. So yeah, if you have opinions like this, I can't change your mind on that. But they shouldn't be pushing their agenda in video games or in the entertainment industry, television, or streaming, movies. But unfortunately, they do to various degrees. And most of the time, it just feels very forced and insincere, and a lot of people are turned off by it. And I feel like it causes a huge backlash. And now, look, I don't think these people are evil. I think they have good intentions, but you know what they say about good intentions paving the way to hell.
Profile. Apurva's LinkedIn states in her own words, "I am a talent acquisition professional specializing in technical game development roles at Rockstar Games. I believe in delivering a positive and transparent interview experience that celebrates candidate diversity and fosters an inclusive environment. I am passionate about connecting talented individuals to their dream roles that fulfill, challenge, and value them. And they're open about DEI and advocating for inclusive environments, which is technically..."
Also, one thing I just noticed, if you look at the, I mean, he may show this in a second, but I just want to bring it back up. I obtained my designation as Certified Human Resources. Oh boy, HR. Who doesn't love HR when it comes to companies, right? Well, I guess except for those that actually work in HR, but most of everyone else is like, oh, HR, leave me alone. You try to avoid them at all costs.
"I am passionate about connecting talented individuals to their dream roles that fulfill, challenge, and value them. And they're open about DEI and advocating for inclusive environments," which is technical speak for we don't want white...
See, this is the thing I don't understand, because like in radio, when I got on radio years ago, is that we had equal opportunity. We had those things in place already. It was equal opportunity employer. We had white people, we had African Americans, and we had I think we had a couple people that were of Hispanic and even Asian backgrounds at different radio stations I worked at. So this was already a thing. Okay, this already existed. Unfortunately, is there people that are racist that work at various companies and businesses? That is a sad reality. And like I said earlier, I wish that wasn't the case because we are all human beings. But what it should really come down to at these companies is, do you have a criminal record? Okay, no. Have you done really bad things? No? Okay. Are you experienced? Are you talented in this particular job you're being hired for, like a programmer, a developer, or somebody working in the IT department or in the art department? That's what I would care about if I was hiring people. I wouldn't give two bits whether they were white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. I just want to hire the best people for the job, the most qualified people that, obviously I'm going by the resume and I'm going by my interactions with them. I'm thinking, okay, this is the right person for the job because of their skills, their knowledge. To me, it has nothing to do with whether their pigment is light or dark or what their beliefs happen to be or not be.
People here, only diverse people going forward. Then, of course, we have Alicia Powers-Lee, a senior talent acquisition specialist at Rockstar, who has said publicly that she wants all Trump supporters to drop dead.
Yeah, see, that's something I take serious issue with. You can agree with Trump, you can disagree with Trump. I voted for Trump, okay, I did. But I'm more in the middle. I'm a moderate. There are things that, Trump stands for that I disagree with. And there's things I disagree with when it comes to the average, like, Trump MAGA voter. But I don't call for any supporters of Trump or Harris to, quote unquote, drop dead. That is crossing a line. And if you're going to publicly do that, then I think that you should be fired from your job. That's how I feel.
You can see right here. Very inclusive of you, Alicia, to want the majority of America to just be wiped off the face of the earth because you don't agree with them politically.
Well, I mean, I would say a little over a majority, but still, that's wrong. You can disagree with somebody's opinions. Like, there's times I disagree with Bernie Sanders. There's times I agree with Bernie Sanders. But, people have a right to their opinions.
Another talent acquisition person is Shannon here. It's weird that they're all women in this department too. Are you noticing that as well? Also, who has worked at Epic Games before and has openly admitted that she also pushes for DEI in gaming, as seen here, because of course she does. Diana here, who also works at Rockstar, also openly admits in her LinkedIn that she advocates for DEI, and even cites DEI implementation to be one of her core skills that is a part of her skill set. Then we have Tim, who works at Rockstar. And what do you think he specializes in? Of course, it's DEI as well. Tim says in his own words where he used to work, I organized key employee events and drove diversity and inclusion efforts as a DEI leader. So this guy's entire...
What does this have to do with making a video game? Like, all these DEI people, like, do any of them actually have experience making video games, programming games, IT? Some of them maybe, maybe not. I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to be hiring at a video game company?
Their job and skill set at Rockstar is to ensure places are more diverse and inclusive. And all of these people are in charge of Rockstar's culture and hiring, by the way. Then, of course, you have Max here, who also works at Rockstar, who's only been there for about 2 months as of the making of this video. Max has also made it clear on her position with Gamergate 2, where she reposted another person which says, it's upsetting that many of my closest friends on this platform have stopped posting as women because of the harassment stemming from Gamergate 2.0. They've shared experiences of being called diversity hires, being told they're only hired for their appearance and as eye candy, and even having doctored media created with their faces on offensive and inappropriate content. I mean, it's not wrong to call people diversity hires, especially at Rockstar. This video alone has shown that there is an overwhelming amount of agenda.
I think this is a problem, obviously not at Rockstar alone, but throughout a lot of the gaming industry. And it's unfortunate, but I'm still hoping that GTA 6 turns out to be decent despite all this.
That is pushing and happening at Rockstar right now. As for being called eye candy, I mean, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's very obvious people are being hired based on race and gender at Rockstar. That cannot be denied. Then, of course, there's one of the more senior people in this video named Vivi Langdon, who has also publicly stated that they hate people who don't agree with trans identity or anything like that. This Vivi has also worked at Rockstar for almost 10 years so far as a senior tools programmer. Vivi has also made it apparent that Twitter back in 2019 apparently doesn't care about trans people, which I don't know, Vivi. Because in 2019, you would get banned instantly on Twitter or really anywhere else if you said anything about anyone who is trans. Even more so if it was 2020 or 2021. So I don't really agree with you on that one, all things considered, but Vivi is obviously someone who is pro-censorship, of course, too. Because here's Vivi advocating for people to report another user on Twitter for not validating their gender identity. Great.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. There are unfortunately people out there that have expressed their opinions negatively about trans people. And I disagree with those opinions. But at the same time, I think people have a right to their opinions as long as they're not openly threatening somebody based on this, or that. And I think that the censorship has only backfired on social media. And that's why X has become so popular under Elon Musk, because when it was under Twitter, yeah, this was happening. And it was being focused against certain groups of people. And I'd rather have the public forum, right, where everyone has a right to their opinion, even if everyone else finds their opinions to be stupid or backwards or ridiculous. I'd rather those opinions be out there to shine in the sunlight.
Totally rational behavior there. Another Rockstar employee, whose name is Emily, said via Twitter that they're glad Rockstar removed any negative depictions of trans people from GTA 5 when they released the enhanced edition of the game.
What's interesting is, yeah, they did that for GTA 5, but I think I did a video about this a year ago, and I think it was just for GTA Online, wasn't it? Or maybe it was for both Story Mode and GTA Online, if I'm just going by my memory. And I found it to be kind of ridiculous that they did this. Because, yeah, unfortunately, some people would go to cockatoos and attack these characters that were dressed up like drag queens. But at the same time, the majority of people didn't. They didn't care. They just drove by cockatoos. And sometimes they'd stop by like, oh, well, that's interesting. The way they're dressed and the way they're acting. Okay. Whatever. It is what it is. It's based off of the world of, Los Angeles, set in Los Santos. So I don't think they should have been removed, but it is interesting that, yeah, they were removed from the current gen, the milked edition of GTA 5 and online. I'm still have to go back on that one. I don't know if it was story mode, but it was definitely online. But last gen for like PS4 and Xbox One, I think they're still there. So good job, Rockstar.
In case you didn't know, Rockstar went back and removed any and all traces of what was considered transphobic from GTA for PS5.
I never really considered it to be transphobic, though, because there's people that dress like that at real life that go out to clubs. So I think the problem was there were some players, not everyone, but some players, that went out of their way to attack those NPCs and make a big to-do about it. It caused a backlash within other communities, and as a response, Rockstar removed those characters entirely.
Series X and such. As you can see here in this The Gamer article, this was all patched out from jokes, character models, and interactions with what was considered not socially acceptable by the standards of today. Notice also that this was released and patched in 2022, specifically around the exact same time all of these talent acquisition employees get hired from places like Behavior Interactive. And within the same time frame that many white developers were being strong-armed into taking unconscious bias courses to renounce their whiteness or privileges in the name of wokeness. So GTA 5 went from being a game that's a part of a series that satirizes and makes fun of everyone to suddenly not being allowed anymore to make jokes about certain individuals the moment that Dan Houser and his top talent leave Rockstar. And then the entire studio gets gripped from the top.
Well, here's the thing. He hasn't mentioned this. Dan's brother, Sam, who's the president of Rockstar Games, he's still there. He doesn't really do anything. At least I don't think he does. He kind of lurks in the shadows. He's not one of these like studio heads that's on social media all the time, giving opinions and thoughts about things and this and that. He kind of runs the show from behind the scenes, along with Strauss Zelnick, head of Take-Two, the parent company of Rockstar. So the head of Rockstar Games is still a white dude.
Bottom by DEI initiatives. Funny how that works, yet they'll still tell you that I'm just crazy for noticing these things. By the way, this was pushed to Rockstar by an LGBTQ+ gaming industry advocacy group called Out Making Games that demanded that Rockstar remove any mention of transphobia from the game in 2022, right around the time when Dan Houser left as well. And by the way, that Emily Evans lady who worked at Rockstar and celebrated when the company removed the so-called trans content, oh, would you look at that, under her licenses and certifications, she has the unconscious bias course in her LinkedIn because of course she does. I mean, she's a white person after all. Here's another developer named Flavio who also works at Rockstar. And there it is again, unconscious bias course certification because he's a white game developer. I wish I was...
I bet that's going to look really good on your resume in like 5-10 years from now when someone's looking at your resume like, oh, yeah, this credential. Who cares? That's how it's going to be.
Kidding, but this is really happening. If you're not willing to play by their rules, they will just simply crush you with demands until you submit. There's also Austin Ruda, a senior production coordinator at Rockstar who also, big surprise like many others, used to work at Behavior Interactive. This dev via Blue Sky says that he hates Gamergate people too, not seeing garbage-sponsored posts from grifters, rage baiters, and right-wing stooges every other post is so nice, man. WTF, pure bliss. So there's a lot of liberal, pro-DEI, pro-censorship people at Rockstar right now. Yep, sorry to break it to you all, guys. Here's Austin retweeting things too with all the usual stuff you think these people do as well. Then the final person here is named Craig, and he's a weird one that I don't quite understand 100% to be honest. But he's been very vocal for children to be exposed to trans stuff. He also works at Rockstar too. He's a...
Yeah, like I said earlier, like I do support trans rights for adults, but I draw the line when it comes to anything revolved around kids. And the problem is action reaction. You know, you have the far left, you have the far right. I've talked about this on my political channel. And you have one side do something, then the other side reacts accordingly, right? And it's divisive not only politically, but as a society in general. And I just don't feel like any of this is really helping. I feel like it's going to cause quite the opposite, unfortunately.
Scottish dev who really hates the SNP or Scottish National Party. He advocates, as you see here, that children should understand how to feel pleasure during...
What kind of map is this? Or pedo? Yeah, I'll say the word. I don't give a shit. Like, no. Kids are freaking kids. No. Absolutely no. That is disgusting. Absolutely horrible. Like, if somebody was working for me and I saw them post something like this, they would be fired. I'd be like, you're fired. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not going to have this nonsense. Let's get back to allowing kids to be kids. When they get older, as they mature, then we can go there when it comes to whatever their sexual orientation happens to be. Because yes, the majority of people are straight, but there are some of us that are bi, gay, lesbians, and even a smaller percentage of the community will end up being trans. That's just a reality. But this crap should not be forced on kids. That is a big, huge no.
Intercourse. Yeah, I just feel weird reading this out loud, guys. I'm not going to lie to you.
I feel the same.
And here's Craig yelling at the Scottish National Party saying children don't need mothers and fathers again. Super weird.
What? Since when? Like, you look in the animal kingdom and, you know, not all species, okay, for the record, but there's a lot of species that have like a father and a mother, like in birds, for example, and in like lion prides, wolf packs, herds, you know, there's males and females, but, you know, you do need males and females to biologically reproduce. When it comes to humans, I think they've proven that when it comes to having a mom and a dad, or at least two parents, even if they happen to be gay, you know, lesbian parents, as long as you raise your kids right and treat them right and teach them right from wrong and do the things that parents are supposed to do for their kids, then, you know, kids usually turn out okay, even in single parent environments.
This guy has such a fixation on children and stuff. He also calls the government homophobic here, and then just starts posting a bunch of trans and rainbow flags whenever parties within Scotland want to push for traditional family values and such. And then the Scottish Party shares a video to show...
when those on the left do this, when they go after people that believe in traditional families and a mother and father raising their kids, then it just causes further backlash from the other side because they feel like they're under attack and they have to respond. So once again, action equals reaction. And there doesn't seem to be a middle ground where we can accept that there are individuals that are straight and those that are part of the LGBTQ and find a way to coexist, while at the same time allowing kids to simply be kids. But unfortunately, it's just like when you're dragging kids into it, I have a serious issue with that, and I wish they would knock it off.
How families make babies, I guess. And Craig doesn't like this because I guess they're pushing heterosexual relations, I suppose.
Well, the majority of the population, like it or not, is heterosexual. The majority of men and women are straight. That's just the way it goes. And fun fact, ever since the dawn of humanity, whatever you believe about that, most species on the planet reproduce with a biological male and a biological female. That's science, that's fact. But at the same time, I still sympathize with the trans community. But I do think that there needs to be, some sort of, I guess, line in the sand.
Suppose it's super weird, dude. I don't know what to make of this guy specifically, to be real with you. But as you can see from all the info presented here, that Rockstar is definitely more than knee-deep in DEI initiatives right now across the entire company. They are full of activists who are pushing DEI, wokeness, weird kid family stuff, and hiring people in droves from companies that also
he's only cited one person. Unfortunately, you go to any company, and chances are you're going to find somebody who's a MAP or a pedo in a lot of companies. It's a sad, scary reality. It's a very small percentage, fortunately. But, that's been a thing long before this DEI nonsense. I heard so many scandals over the years from various companies and other stations that I worked at. Like this one person I worked with, years later, turns out they got in trouble with CP. I'm like, what the fuck? It was crazy, and this sadly does happen. So just because this one person's doing it doesn't mean everyone else, is that way as well. But innocent till proven guilty, I suppose.
The same sort of ideologies. The unconscious bias thing was a big part of the scoop because whenever people claim that white devs specifically are not being targeted or forced to comply to the beliefs or whims of others, it's just simply not true. White developers are absolutely getting strangled by this industry to comply to these insane demands. As I'm told by some sources too, since I might as well add it here while I'm making this, GTA 6's story should mostly be kept intact from when Dan Houser and such wrote it, like they did every other GTA game in Red Dead.
Okay, so that's something I guess I'm happy about, is that there was speculation about who was going to be the one responsible for writing the main story of GTA 6. My hope has been that Dan Houser and Unsworth, and maybe even Laszlo, before he had to leave to take care of his sister and his dad, that they were involved in some degree in writing the story, the characters, the theme, the plot of GTA 6, or at least maybe like the rough draft or the first draft. So that's good that this is still going to have a feel and vibe to it of GTA. Hopefully that remains intact. We'll just have to wait and see.
But this doesn't mean things couldn't be changed, of course, and I would mostly worry about the post-launch future of GTA 6 than anything else. Side content will likely be sanitized as well too.
What side content? All the DLCs are going to be focused on GTA 6 Online, just like they've done over the past decade with Grand Theft Auto Online for GTA 5. There were supposed to be story DLCs for Grand Theft Auto Online, Grand Theft Auto 5, but because of money, Take-Two and Rockstar decided to scrap the story DLCs in favor of content for Grand Theft Auto Online instead.
Expect no trans jokes or anything, but plenty of jokes about white people instead, because that's totally fine to do.
Well, to be fair, previous Grand Theft Autos have had jokes about different groups of people, including white people, which I'm totally fine about. It's satire. That's one thing I love about the Grand Theft Auto franchise, just like with South Park, is the fact that they make fun of everybody, like the left, the right, other groups as well, especially the more extreme elements of society. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. And I'm hoping that that'll remain the same for the most part in Grand Theft Auto 6.
Of course. If GTA 6 somehow doesn't hit the landing and it just ends up pissing off the fans, we could be looking at one expensive disaster on our hands. I
don't think it's going to be a disaster because of the fact you're going to have Grand Theft Auto 6 Online, which is going to come sometime after the main game, just like with Grand Theft Auto 5 and GTA Online. And that's going to make Take-Two and Rockstar lots of money because a lot of people still play Grand Theft Auto Online myself included, over a decade later. And we've been chomping at a bit for a brand new Grand Theft Auto online experience in a new world, like Leonida Vice City. And so I think that no matter what, Grand Theft Auto 6 is still going to sell a ton of copies. Mostly digital, unfortunately, but there will definitely be some physical copies sold on current gen PS5, Xbox Series. But it will be interesting to see how the story plays out in Grand Theft Auto 6.
I think it will still sell well. I mean, it is GTA, but I'm just letting you guys know, okay? But there is one truth here that I want you to take away from all of this. GTA 6 is absolutely 100% infected and hijacked by dozens of activists. And we'll only see just how far this goes once more about the game comes out. But what do you think about all of this? Will you still be buying GTA 6?
To answer your question, yeah, I'm still going to buy GTA 6. I'm still excited about it. I feel like from the first trailer, Lucia is attractive. Jason, well, his name was Jason. I don't know if it's still going to be Jason, but they're both attractive characters, obviously. So right there's no DI push to make Lucia unattractive. I mean, she's looked attractive since the leaked beta photos and video. So that's a positive. She seems pretty down to earth and likable. We see her in several scenes wearing a nice dress and wearing a bikini. So, yeah, I mean, there might be employees at Rockstar that are DEI that are on the left, just like most other companies. And I do think it's wrong to force a certain group of employees, whether they're white, black, etc., to go and do this unconscious bias like conference. I think that's racist, no matter which way you look at it. So I think that was wrong. And I hope that Rockstar has learned from the mistakes made by other studios, like case in point with Saints Row in name only, with the waffle makers and the student loan debts, that didn't fly so well with Saints Row fans. And there's GTA fans that are also Saints Row fans. And the fact that was a bomb, a major disaster that sunk a studio and cost a lot of people their jobs. So you think that with all the money being poured into Grand Theft Auto 6 and all the years of development and the hard work by everyone at the studio, that they want GTA 6 to succeed. They want it to be appealing to the majority of the GTA fan base. And they obviously want to ensure that they survive financially. And the reason why people come to Rockstar Games from other studios is because it's one of the largest studios in the world. And it's probably not going to collapse or go under anytime soon, especially if GTA 6 does well. I think it will. I don't know if the story is going to be as good as previous GTAs like Grand Theft Auto 4 or San Andreas. I hope it's up to the same level. It does make me feel a little bit better, because that was one of my main concerns, was regarding the story. Who were the writers behind Grand Theft Auto 6? And since Dan Houser, I guess, is or was involved in the story along with Unsworth and I guess Laszlo as well, then that's good. But he did not say why exactly Dan Houser or Unsworth left the company. I still don't know why they left. It could be because of issues internally. Maybe there were some problems inside Rockstar when it came to harassment and other issues that happened at other studios, like Activision Blizzard. That's become very well known. And there's a lot of controversy about that. And this is an issue that's happened in other studios. So that's something you definitely don't want to have in your companies either. You want to get that shit out of there too. So I totally get that. But like I said, when it comes to Laszlo, who I've been a fan of since GTA 3, because obviously I was in radio just like he was, I appreciate, not only his character Laszlo, but also the work he's done behind the scenes with the writing, as well as with the radio stations, from GTA 3 all the way to GTA 5. And we know why he left the company, as I already stated quite a few times. So he didn't really elaborate on why Dan Houser or Unsworth left. He just said they left because of, maybe not because of that. Because once again, Sam Houser, the co-founder of Rockstar Games, Dan Houser's brother, is still president of Rockstar Games. So he's still there. He hasn't been pushed out. But overall, pretty good video. I agree with a lot of his points. DEA has become a problem in a lot of the gaming industry. I think that in time, with the backlash from gamers and more people speaking out against it, that it's going to become less of a problem, especially with how many games have flopped and failed after millions of dollars invested into these games and studios crumbling left and right. And these publishers like Take-Two, they want money. That's what they really care about. They care about the money. They care about making profit. And Take-Two most likely wants GTA 6 to be the next big thing. That's what they're banking on, to keep the stocks up, to keep the investors happy, to keep Strauss-Zelnick's pockets filled with gold and this huge, ridiculous paycheck every year, along with Sam Houser's paycheck. There's a selfish reason why I think that at the end of the day, I believe that GTA 6 will, for the most part, feel like a Grand Theft Auto game. There may be some differences, but I hope that they will continue to strive towards satirizing everybody, whether you're on the right or the left. Once again, that's what I've loved about. Well, one of the many things I've loved about previous Grand Theft Autos is the fact they pulled no punches. They made fun of almost everyone. But I mean, sometimes, yeah, can you get to the point where like it's going too hard against one group or another? Like, for example, I believe the Haitians in Vice City, I think they went back and changed that. So it's not the first time they've done something like this, because it upset the Haitian community with how hard they hit the Haitian community, making all Haitians out to be like members of the Haitian gang in Vice City. And that's obviously not true. I enjoyed watching the video. And like I said, I do agree with a lot of his points, but I'm also hoping that the various gaming studios out there, including Rockstar, has seen the failures of Saints Row and other games and realized that, yeah, this is not what gamers want. And GTA fans are very passionate about the franchise. And we're going to come out, we're going to support the game, we're going to buy the game. We're going to probably buy the Ultimate Edition of the game. And we're going to play the hell out of it along with the online version of GTA 6. We will burn you if you give us something that doesn't feel like a Grand Theft Auto game. But as of right now, I was very impressed with the first trailer from over a year ago with GTA 6. Plus, Tom Petty. I love Tom Petty, so I love Love Is a Long Road, and along with numerous other songs from his catalog. And I think that Lucy and Jason will be great protagonists in Grand Theft Auto 6. So, yeah, at the moment, yeah, this is concerning, but I'm hoping that it doesn't end up infesting Grand Theft Auto 6 too badly. But we'll just have to wait and see. So now that you've watched the video either on your own or along with me, I would like to know your thoughts, views, and opinions regarding Adam Moyne TV's takes. And he did do a lot of research, so I do appreciate the research he did. So once again, check out the video yourself. Your thoughts, views, opinions, as always, welcome below in the comments section.